Hello, my name is Matt Fleming. I work at the Hydrologic Engineering Center, and in this presentation we're going to talk about customizing plots in HEC-DSSVue. All right, the first thing that we're going to talk about is configuring the plot layout. You can go to the Edit menu of a plot and open up the Configure Plot Layout editor. And within this Configure Plot Layout editor, let's go to the next slide. You can add or remove different viewports. You can remove data from a viewport and move it to another viewport. You can also add different or additional axes to a viewport. For example, if I have a plot with, let me bring this one over real quick. I have this plot with a viewport, the second viewport. There is elevation data being plotted on the Y2 axis and flow data, or elevation data is being plotted on the Y1 axis and flow data is being plotted on the Y2 axis. If I want to separate these two data into separate viewports, then I would go to the Edit menu and choose Configure Plot Layout. I would add a new viewport, so Edit, Add Viewport. And then I could choose, let's just choose the Observed Flow data set here and move it down to the third viewport. Okay. You notice that there is still the Y2 axis being drawn, just the axis. And if I want to remove that, I would choose the Y2 axis from the Configure Plot editor, right-click, and choose Remove. Okay. So there's the axis, or the different axes in the three viewports. The weights, let's talk about weights too. So if you want to modify the weights, you would go back to the Edit menu within the Configure Plot editor and choose Set Viewport Weights. And you can change the weights. By default, they're going to be given equal weights for each viewport. In this example, let's give the upper viewport, let's give it a 20%, and we'll give the others 40% and 40%. There we go. Let's see, I believe we talked about this. The only thing that's new on this slide is you can reverse the axis, and usually that's done for your precipitation data sets. Whenever those are shown, some people like to have precipitation. Well, let me just show you. Let's see if I have that in my plot here. Let's go back to the plot. So we have precipitations being plotted on the Y3 axis. So let's configure the plot layout. There's precipitation. I believe you can go back to the edit, or you have to select the axis. Once you have the axis selected, you can right-click on the axis and choose Reverse and click Apply. And now you notice that the zero value is being plotted at the top, and as you work your way down the axis, the magnitude is increasing. All right, let's talk about callouts and marker lines. If you want to add text to a plot, you can use the callout option. You simply use the Select tool, right-click on the curve about where you want the callout to be added, choose the Add Callout option, and once you choose that option, you're going to have an editor where you can enter the text for that callout. The next one we have is a marker line. Again, you can right-click anywhere in the plot in a viewport, and once you right-click, you're going to have an option for Add Marker. You get to choose which axis you want to add the marker line. And once you choose either X or Y, then a new editor is going to show you or provide you the location where you did the right-click to open up this context menu, and you can override the location of the marker line. So for example, if you right-clicked on the plot and you want to add a a marker line on the Y-axis, well, it's going to show you the magnitude of where you did the right-click, and then you can override it so that the vertical line is drawn wherever you want it to on the Y-axis. Here we have an example here. In this upper viewport, you can see the callout that's added to the plot. So right-click, choose the callout option. Someone entered a max flow equals 6300 CFS, and then that text was added to the viewport. And then marker line, what somebody did was right-click in this plot and choose Add Marker Line on X-axis and chose 29 July 2001 at 1200 as the time when that vertical marker line was added to the plot. Now let's talk about editing the title and legend. You have a couple of ways to do this. The first is to edit the legend title. You can right-click on the legend and there should be a context menu that pops up, and then you can choose Edit Properties, and then this editor will open up for you. And then if you want to set the legend title, you can check the box to draw legend title and then enter the legend title that you would like to see. Similar way to do it for the title of the plot itself. You can right-click in the area above the plot and choose Edit Properties. You're going to have a dialog that looks like this. You can check the box for that plot title, and once you have that box checked, you can enter the title of your plot. Here we have the example displayed for you. So you can see this is where the plot title is going to be drawn once you customize the plot title, and then also for the legend title, that's going to be displayed right above the data sets that are shown in the legend. Another way to edit the legend and plot title, you can open the plot properties editor from the edit menu. So we have this figure right here. You go to the edit menu and choose plot properties, and you're going to see this dialog open here. It has a number of tabs. Let's just look at the legend and title tab. Those are going to be very similar to what we showed on the previous slide for just editing those specific components of a plot. Other information that you have access to on the plot properties editor, you can see all of the data curves that are being displayed, and you can choose a data curve and either remove it from the plot if you want to, or just remove it from being drawn in the plot. You can also change the plot properties, the line styles for each of the data sets that are being displayed. You have access to viewport information. You have access to the axes. If you want to change the scale, the minimum, the maximum values that are being used in the axes, you can do that. And also you have access to marker lines and layout information. Once you edit the information in the plot properties editor, that is used just for that one instance of the plot. If you close the plot and then reopen it, it's going to be drawn using the default properties. Templates. Templates are an option that you can use to save your custom edits to a plot and then have those custom edits be applied to future plots. Let's look at the second bullet here. The same layout and properties can later be applied to another plot by selecting the Apply Template option from the File menu on a plot. The one thing that you have to watch out for is the templates are intended to be applied to plots with the same parameters and number of curves. And what I mean by parameters is think of the C-part path name for a data set. You might have something like flow or elevation, and what you need to be careful of is if you create a template for, let's say you have 3 different data sets that were plotted in 2 viewports, you had an elevation, flow, and maybe storage. Those same data sets for future plots need to be available or selected in order for that template to be successfully used whenever you want to use it. All right, let's talk about the default plot properties. So we talked about editing the plot properties for a plot that's currently open. You can also edit the default plot properties so that whenever you create a new plot in the future, those plots will be using or will use the edits that you made to the default plot properties. So you can change things like the curves, so missing values, how those are being drawn, information in the legend, and so on. If you don't like those edits, then you can try to undo them, or you can go to the files saved on your computer in the user profile edit area within the .gfx2d folder, and you're going to see defaults here, default files. So a legend default, label default, and so on. And if you want to delete those, then anytime you open up DSSVue in the future, the defaults will be applied again. So that's another way of undoing any custom edits that you make to the default plot properties. Let's talk about default line styles. If you have selected a number of elevation data sets, and then if you click the plot button after you have those selected, you're going to see a plot, and each line will have a separate color. Those separate line colors and line styles are defined within the line properties editor. And you have access to the line properties editor from the edit menu, default line styles. Once you select that option, you're going to see an editor that looks something like this, where you have the data set parameter, or the parameter type for different data sets. So we have elevation here, we have a number of flow data sets, and you can see the line style that by default is associated with each of those parameters and data types. You can customize them if you want to. If you do customize them, that information is saved to a file on your computer. Individual edits cannot be undone, but deleting the file that saved that information will revert the line styles back to the defaults. All right, default line styles are used by multiple programs or HEC software like HEC ResSim and SWIM's CAVI. Those default line styles can be turned off or on by selecting the Use Line Styles option from the View menu. And DSSVue uses program-specific line styles if you have turned off those defaults. All right, we made it to the end of this section. Let's talk through some knowledge checkpoint questions. The first one is, which tool must be selected in order to access the component context menus? So let's go back to our plot example here. So if I want to access component context menus, then you need to select your select tool so that you can right-click and choose add marker points, or if you want to right-click and edit the properties of the legend. So that select tool is needed. What are two ways to open an editor for a legend? All right, we covered that. You can right-click on the legend here and choose Edit Properties, or you can go to the Edit menu and choose Plot Properties, and then go to the Legend tab. Third question, why would you use templates instead of default plot properties or default line styles? Well, the best reason for using a template is if you know you're going to keep plotting the same type of data over and over and over. It's all about repeatability. All right, so if you know you're going to have or constantly create plots that have, for example, maybe 3 data sets like elevation, flow, and storage, and you like certain line properties or line styles that are applied to the different data that's viewed in that plot, and you want to set it once, save the template, and then each time you open a plot in the future, that information will be applied to those future plots. So you don't have to manually go through and set that information each time you open a plot. And finally, the fourth question, how do you restore the program defaults for plot properties and line styles? All right, so let's say you edit those plot properties, line styles, and after a while you get tired of those edits and you want to revert it back to the original whenever you installed the software on your computer. Well, you can go to those locations where those line file or those property files are saved on your computer and simply delete them. So make sure DSSVue is closed. You can go to find those files on your computer, delete them, and then whenever you open DSSVue again, the program's going to use the default information whenever a new plot is created. All right, that covers the information in this presentation. Look for one more presentation here covering using scripts to help you with plots in DSSVue.